What is going on, people? It's Matt from Liquid Loans. Happy Friday to everyone out there. I hope you've had a good week. Welcome to the Matt and Jesse show, where we talk about crypto, all things PulseChain, Liquid Loans, and we also answer your questions. So basically, an open AMA. With no further ado, let me bring up the one, the only, the legend, Jesse, the Pit Boss.
What's up, people? How y'all doing today?
Everyone's good, man. Everyone's in the chat. Woohoo, let's go. What's up, Hexagons? So, Jesse, how has your week been so far?
Week's been really good. It's been busy.
Yeah.
I just got off a Twitter space too, just like 20 minutes ago. That went well. What did I title it? Why? We went through a whole bunch of whys. Why PulseChain? Why sacrifice? Why does Liquid Loans need to exist? It went pretty well, right? We talk a whole bunch about like the how and like how the protocol works and stuff. And I wanted to dedicate a Twitter space to why this, why that, you know. So that went pretty good.
So let's talk about the how for a bit, or why. Obviously, a lot of people who know about PulseChain know obviously the why, but the main why is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you must have touched on, obviously it's cheaper and faster, right? Because obviously we're getting screwed on Ethereum.
Right.
We need a proof of stake blockchain because obviously miners, they don't help the environment. They don't help, obviously, the users of the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
What are the other big whys?
All right. So why Algorithmic stablecoin backed by Pulse? Because the alternative is a non-algorithmic stablecoin that's manipulated by a central entity. Let me give an example. Fiat dollars. I think there's over $200 trillion worth of world debt. And maybe I think I read somewhere $90 trillion worth of actual fiat in existence. Okay, so that's called a fractional reserve. You have more obligations than you have in actual dollars to pay those obligations. But then what happens is you've got central entities who take it even a step further. They compound the problem yet again. So you've got Circle and Tether, right, that run centrally backed stablecoins that say, "Ooh, let me take some of this." This fiat that's not fully backed, that there's more debt for than there is fiat, and let me create a stable coin off of that and then do the same thing. So then they take some of this stable coin, and the way it works is actually pretty simple. When you send fiat to an issuer, Coinbase would be an example. They collect that fiat throughout the day. Now, you as a user, they immediately give you fiat, or excuse me, immediately give you USDC because they have a sum of them. But it's several intervals throughout the day. What they end up doing is they will mint some ERC20 USDC off of the fiat that's come into them. Now, for people who are cashing out, same thing, right? You send ERC20 to an issuer like Coinbase, they end up giving you fiat for it, and several intervals throughout the day, they end up burning some of that USDC. Well, what's happened over the years with places like Circle and Tether is they've got this big pool of ERC20s, and they don't burn all of them. Some of them, they say, ooh, maybe we can go plant these over here on invest in this thing over here, or maybe we can put some of it over there. And instead of like burning all of it, they actually keep some of it for themselves. So then you end up having more ERC20s in existence than the fiat that they brought in, which is the same problem that the fiat dollar had to begin with. Okay, so you're fractionally reserving something that's fractionally reserved, and it's just like, it's ridiculous. You don't get the profit. The corporation gets the profit, and it's just this big game for them, and they're always going to win. Now, that doesn't mean Circle is going to collapse and it's going to like implode on itself, but it's just the principle of the matter. Why give these governments and institutions all the power when you could have the power to trustlessly, just mint your own stablecoin that's fully backed and redeemable and not fractional reserved. So the only way you do that is you take a different asset. That could be ETH, or that could be Phantom Coin, or it could be Hex, or it could be, Pulse Coin. And in the case of Liquid Loans, it's Pulse Coin. You take some of that, you put it in, and you mint some stable coins out against it. And you do it yourself, and the community of users gets to collect the fees, and it's all fully backed and redeemable. So it's a more community-driven system. It's essential. It's like why crypto exists, to take power away from the middlemen. So that's the why. Take power away from the middlemen and knock it off with all this ridiculous fractional reserve.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the why. Why liquid loans, right? There's many other whys, but that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of the stable coins, most of the stable coins are mirroring the legacy finance system, right? And then it becomes a house of cards because you have fractionally reserved fiat then backing fractionally reserved stable coins. And if everyone did a bank run, obviously it would all collapse anyway. But you don't want to be in that place, right? Where people, a lot of the time now, people that hold USDT, they're like, I hold it for a bit, but I'm not too confident with it. Where with an algorithmic stablecoin like USDL, something has to be backing that, which is obviously the pulse that people have put into their vault as collateral. So it's a lot more, obviously it's secure, it's code. We're not trusting humans here, we're trusting math and code. Also, touching on the point that you said, I was explaining this yesterday to my guest Randy about how Liquid Loans really is a community bank. Obviously the community use it, but the community support it by the stability pool and then by the loan staking pool. So yeah, it's those are the main wires, and then
And it's all in chain.
Yeah,
it's all on chain. You can see all the data right in front of you. Can you look and see what Circle or Tether are doing with all their money, with all their reserves? No, you can't, because it's a private. I mean, it's a company that's just not obligated to disclose all the nitty gritty details, right? But with USDL, you know exactly which wallet minted the USDL, and you know exactly where it's going. It's all on chain.
Yeah.
So it's just better in all ways.
Nikon Impulse says, "Hey guys, where can we see the amount of loans per referral? I enrolled a lot of friends in the project. Can't wait." That's not available yet. So when that is, obviously we'll let you guys know. But there's nowhere to check the referrals as of yet. I saw another question here. Are you guys planning to be in Vegas in September? I think so. I think you might be sliding by, Jesse, and I might be there too. So nothing's confirmed yet, though, is it?
Nope, not confirmed yet. I might stop in and say hello.
Jesse, can you explain the importance that the liquid loan token has and is like the T-share in a way? Never sell.
Yeah. So the loan token, remember I said like the big institutions, like they collect all the fees and they just like prey on everybody? Well, it's the opposite with liquid loans. You have fees every time somebody either takes a loan or somebody does what's called a redemption. And the fees go right back to the community of stakers of the loan token. So the community collects 100% of the fees inside of liquid loans. It's not some central entity. It's just us. It's the community. Now, is it like a T-share? It is very much like a T-share because it becomes harder and harder over time to obtain. It gets should get more and more expensive over time to attain because like the payout of these things, it's actually paid as a reward token to stability providers at an ever decreasing rate. So less and less and less of them are ever paid out, which just puts a supply squeeze on them. If you look at the sacrifice set, they may have a some of these, but there's just the way everyone's locked up their points. There's also a major supply squeeze on these. So over time, it's just like hard to get these things. But when you do have them and you stake them, you collect the fees. The fees should get bigger over time. If Pulse goes up in value and does 100x, you can imagine that people's loans may be 100x the size they were at the beginning of PulseChain, which means the fees should be 100 times what they were at the beginning of Liquid Loans. So the fees will always just get bigger and bigger and bigger proportionally to PulseCoin. And those fees are getting paid to those loan token stakers. So the early people win. The early people win reap the most benefits. They'll always have the most coins, and they'll always have an ever increasing amount of fees that they're collecting.
And also, as you said, because it's that perpetual yield, right? Or the perpetual fees are getting paid to the loan stakers. Obviously, when we look at anything that produces consistent yield, price normally trends up because people want to buy that, right? If you have something, that's why people are now encapsulating T-shares so they can trade them, because obviously T-shares have value. They bring in, HEX through being staked. The loan token is like a timeless T-share because there's no lock for a certain amount of years. You can put it in for one day, you can put it in for as long as PulseChain is around, and you can be earning every fee in the system. So price, yield generating assets normally become quite sought after. When can we see, How I Made It asked, when can we see liquid loans on Pulse DEX to play around with, PulseX DEX to play around with?
I think we're getting really, really close to a public release. Just had a team meeting a couple days ago, and I asked the question, are we going to have a public release prior to mainnet? And it looks very hopeful.
Cool. Question: where do you see these level twos, i.e., liquid loans, Hex, etc., in 5 or 10 years? Liquid loans and Hex isn't a level two; it's a protocol. So
I do get what he's asking, though.
Oh, he's talking about.
So if you mean like a level 2 is something that's built on top of a level 1,
Okay.
Like you have to understand that a blockchain is only as successful as the things that are built on it. So PulseChain cannot be a success unless Hex on it is performing, PulseX on it is performing, Liquid Loans on it is performing. Like otherwise, you just have an empty blockchain that does nothing. So I see it, when you say given the uncertainty around the future of these level ones, well, PulseChain is brand new. You can call it a level 1, but it's essentially doing what Ethereum 2.0 should have done a long time ago. It's a proof of stake, Ethereum net state. Okay, EVM, it's an EVM, it's a copy of Ethereum, but like it's doing everything that should have happened with Ethereum a long time ago. To think that it's not going to have success is, crazy talk, because there's blockchains that pop up every couple months. There's some new random blockchain that launches empty and then nobody uses it. PulseChain is launching with a cool DEX, with Hex, with Liquid Loans, with all these other protocols natively launching, and like everything functioning, and all the free copies to lure all the people over to come check out the chain. Like it's got to be successful. It has to be. There's no way that it can't.
And just to extrapolate on what you said, there are blockchains launching all the time. A lot of them ghost chains. I know people don't want to hear it, but it's true, right? There's not much activity going on. Things aren't really being built on there, and they still have insane price appreciation. So, it's a bullish case for PulseChain, which is a full system state copy, never been done before. Everyone getting their copy of their ERC20s on PulseChain as PRC20s. HexyCat, thanks for all you do. Hit the likes, guys. Guys, if you care about liquid loans, PulseChain, and all this stuff getting out to more people, do hit the likes, do share the video. Helps with the algo. What if you could take a loan off your Pulse USDL LP position? Just a random thought.
Take a loan against your liquidity token.
That wouldn't work though, because if it moved out of position, if you move past your range, then what happens there? You get liquidated.
Yeah, so it's really hard to start stacking smart contracts like that. I suppose maybe there would be a way if you take your LP token, you could do it, but like just take a loan, like just use the most liquid asset on the chain, which is PulseCoin. Tens of thousands of liquidity pools and stuff. So eventually it'll be the most stable asset on the chain. Not stable as in stable coin, but it won't have like 30%, increases in price, 50% dump like a lot of the PRC 20s are going to have. Over time, it should be like just slow. Uh, and use that as your collateral. That's always the best token to use as collateral.
Well, yeah, people ask us a lot, why don't you use something else such as Hex or something? And obviously this can be possible in the future, but if you look at Liquidity, which is the protocol that Liquid Loans is forking, it uses ETH because that's the foundation currency of Ethereum. We're using Pulse because Pulse is the foundation currency. And although the foundation currencies do have fluctuations, obviously, they're still much more stable than other protocols that sit on top of the blockchain.
So Astro Rev speculates that he bets that some people laddered without even knowing by hitting the max or something. Well, the only way to signal that you wanted a lock was if the digits after, to the right of the decimal point were 0.01, 0.02, so on and so forth, all the way out to 0.24. There's billions of combinations of decimals after, to the right of the decimal point, and there's only 24 of them that could have possibly landed you on a ladder. Okay, because it's likely if somebody hit the max, even if it was like 0.230753, some weird number, guess what? That didn't meet the criteria of being locked up for a period of time. It had to be 0.01, 0.02, all the way out to 0.24. And not one single person has reached out in the Telegram to say, oops, right? The instructions were very clear. It seems like everybody did it correctly. There are some people that feel they screwed up their sacrifice in one way or another. They have reached out. They've been put on a list. No expectations, but we are good people. We're nice people. So I don't think there's a whole bunch of people that accidentally did that.
Grow Capital says, according to Richard's recent interview, PulseChain launch may be before April end, and if so, when is Liquid Loans launching? Obviously, we need PulseChain to launch, right? Because that's the substrate, that's the blockchain, and we can't give any definite timelines. But obviously, we want the market to calm down, and there will be some volatility at first. So as soon as PulseChain's launched, and we know, you guys will know. But for now, we can't give you exact timelines or anything. D Good ask, will loan be correlated to the price of Pulse?
It should be. But it doesn't mean that they're going to be tied perfectly together, right? So if the price of Pulse goes up, that means people's collateral position gets safer where they can take out more USDL. They can mint themselves more USDL. So as Pulse goes up in price, like more of those fees get fed to the stakers, which means the value of the loan token goes up as well. If it's, making you a bunch of fees to have a sum of these loan tokens and those fees are going up, the value of the token should go up as well. So they are tied. And you have to remember USDL's underlying collateral is Pulse. Like it all falls back to Pulse, correlated in that fashion. So yes, there is correlation.
We've answered this before. Hex Pulse, is where you can see it for now, which is community built. We don't have anything as of yet. Obviously, numbers need to be checked and verified and all that stuff. So again, when we know, you'll know. But for now, Hex Pulse, the community built way, is the best way to have a look. The same for Christopher Beasley. You can check your stack balance there. Is your swap pointed back to PulseX?
Yes, that's the premier swapping platform on PulseChain. Of course, PulseChain doesn't exist yet, but we fully suspect that after launch, our liquidity pool pointers are going to be tied into PulseX. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't use Uniswap as well or another DEX as well, but PulseX is the premier of the chain.
Sam says he can't wait for liquid loans, like all of us. We're all pretty excited about it. So, what, Jesse? After hearing Richard, I'm sure you heard him on that stream with the Bitcoin Maxi guys. What do you think about? Well, obviously, I think he slayed those guys. But what do you think about what he dropped about PulseChain? You think it's getting as close as he said, or how do you feel?
Well, any other time that he's given a timeline, it's never worked out that way.
That's true.
So, like, he can say April, and we can all hope for April, and then the next thing you know, it's May, right? So, like, this has happened since the beginning. I swear, go back in some videos, and when we did our PulseChain sacrifice, I think we were told, hey, it should only take 6 weeks to build this chain. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And then that turned into months and months and months. Oh, another 2 weeks. Oh, just another 2 weeks. Like, this always happens. So whenever I hear any sort of timeline, I just don't even care anymore. I just don't care, because it's never going to be right.
That's actually very true. But the testnet is, well, from my testing, it seems to be running pretty good. PulseX seems to be running pretty good, and there's new iterations coming out every day on SAC balances and what's not. Yeah,
there's one hiccup that I see, and that's the blockchain explorer that's sitting at 12% indexed. It goes through like a percentage every like 3 or 4 days now. It seems to be slowing down. You could launch a blockchain without the blockchain explorer, I suppose, but like, there goes all the transparency and openness as to what's happening on the chain. Like, nobody has any idea what's happening on the chain if you don't have a working blockchain explorer. So, like, I'm not a dev, but I would think that they need to get a handle on that and figure out why that thing isn't indexing correctly before we can launch. I don't know how long that takes. That's for those guys to figure out. But we're literally sitting at 12% now for like days.
Grow Capital says, do you plan on making an interview with Richard anytime soon? If you do, it would be awesome. Yeah, Richard's welcome to come on the Liquid Loans channel anytime he wants. If you're watching Richard, hit us up. Rambo Hex says, hello, Matt and Jesse. Grateful for the channel. Such informative program. I enjoy every single one. Keep it up. Thank you. Thank you. Messi also asked, wondering how you think Pulse would react if USD goes to shit, given that USDL is algorithmically tied to it.
If the US dollar... Well, as much as people hope that like crypto moons if US dollar goes to zero, like that, I don't think that's the case. Like, if the US dollar collapses, I think everyone gets scared, and like crypto collapses right along with it. You would think that, oh, the dollar's collapsing, we should put all our money in crypto. But like, markets do the weird stuff, and I actually think that you end up seeing crashes of all markets when the dollar collapses.
Okay, I absolutely love that you guys did delay gratification. I delayed for 24 months, and I can't wait to add liquidity and compound my loan tokens. Cool, good stuff. Good stuff.
Compounding is super powerful, right?
Yep.
So if you've got a reward ready to be claimed, like, don't just let that add up and do nothing for you. Hit the claim button as often as possible. Like, even in PulseX, you can stake PulseX, for example, to get the PRT token, Pulse Reward token, I think. And like, you'll see your claimable balance going up. Well, don't just wait like weeks to hit that button. Hit that button, take those coins, and go put them to work for you immediately, as often as practical. Otherwise, you're just leaving money on the table. It's the same thing with liquid loans. As your claimable balance goes up, hit that button, go compound it somewhere else.
Good advice. The wonder of the world. What is it? The 8th wonder of the world, compound interest. Grow Capital asked, do you have a plan to start a liquid loans operation in India? We are not based in any country. We're a globe. We are decentralized, so we don't have an operation anywhere. It's you
Just
can use
log
Liquid.
in. Yeah,
Just
just
log in
log into the
anywhere.
website and use it from wherever you are in the world.
Jesse, will you offer some airdrop or advantage for the sacrifices?
There may be a massive airdrop for the sacrificers. No expectations.
People are thanking you for your chat session earlier today, so they must have been listening to you on Twitter. Hexycat says the USA and England are in the same group in the World Cup. Okay, cheeky. Little non-liquid loans topics. So for the Americans, that's soccer. For us, we call it football. That would be interesting. England. Here's the funny thing. In reality, England should beat the USA, but the USA are good at soccer. Like, they've beaten us a few times. And knowing England's luck in World Cups, they'll probably beat us again. Grow Capital says in India, WEF, not sure what that means. Today's crypto tax is 30%. How save our growth? We're not tax advisors, but normally in most parts of the world, you do not get taxed on loans. So you have to obviously do research in your jurisdiction. But yeah, by using debt, you can't really get taxed on that. Otherwise, people will be getting taxed on credit cards and mortgages, and that wouldn't work out. Cool. So what else did you guys talk about, Jesse, on your chat today on Twitter?
Oh, we talked about all things crypto. We talked we talked about the why liquid loans exist, why sacrifice, why people, especially some of the fence sitters during the sacrifice. Like, we kept hearing a lot. By the way, before I say this, we have a lot of liquid loans supporters. We have like 25% or more of the Pulse community who supports, right? Because we have, I don't know, 12,000 people. There's like 40,000 wallets that'll have Pulse. So like we're at like 25% of the community. So we have an overwhelming amount of like support. For a protocol on a blockchain to have 25% of that blockchain supporting it is probably a bigger number than ever before in history, to be honest. Like, take a step back and think about that for a second. Does Ethereum have 25% of all of its users in Hex? No. Does it have 25% of all of its users in MakerDAO? No. It, like, to have almost 25% of a user base of an entire blockchain supporting a single protocol residing on that blockchain has never been done before. All right. So now that I've stated that, there are a couple haters, or lack of understanders, maybe we'll call them, that have always said, why sacrifice? Why sacrifice? Why not for free? How come you couldn't just do a free airdrop? And I said a couple things about that. Did you see that ever before in history? Did you see that with a Richard Hart sacrifice? No. Did you see an entity that had billions and billions of dollars that could have given stuff away for free and instead ran a sacrifice? Yes. Now, why was that? You hear that person talk often how when people get things for free, they don't value it the same as if they had to put some skin in the game into some sort of political statement. So they end up just dumping that thing. They lack understanding of it. They don't care. They'll wait to see a quick little gain, then they'll dump it because they got it all for free. So that's one reason. Also, look at other protocols that have given stuff away for free. Protocols tend to like to have a war chest, some sort of resources where they can expand and grow the community and do marketing and get on YouTube and build up a community and just get bigger and bigger. And without the resources up front, what they end up doing is just minting a bunch of tokens to themselves and then dumping on their own community constantly and forever, suppressing the price in hopes that they can raise the price, by what they're dumping, by dumping and doing other things with it. And it's just they're fighting themselves. And then you just see these protocols that should be good, but because their tokenomics were the way they are, they just go down and down and down and they just head towards zero, even though it may be a very good protocol. Other protocols will do venture capitalist raises, and then you're beholden to like what the venture capitalists demand. And then those guys end up dumping on the community anyway because they're not there for the long term. VCs, that's how they make their living, investing in a whole bunch of stuff. They don't spend a whole lot of time on any one of them. So they want to see some quick gains and then they dump on the community as well. So like venture capitalist raises don't work either. So instead, you just say, you know what, forget all that. Let's just have everyone align their political beliefs and stand up for their belief in a better system. And then we can free airdrop, so you still get a free airdrop. It's still free. You're not getting any one thing in exchange for something else, but you just met you've just created a mechanism that supports the entire protocol.
Yeah, 100%. And just to back up what you say, just think about your life and think when anything is given for free, people don't value it. And when you have some skin in the game, you've had to put in some work or some economic energy to it, you value it. And that's why other sacrifice phases have done so well, such as Richard Hart's. How will you be able to prove if prove it alone if you cash out? Will the IRS ask for documentation?
Well, everything's on blockchain. And when you do your forms, at least with the IRS in America, like you put what's gain and what's not. Like if I get a loan from a bank, I actually don't put that loan on my paperwork because it's not required. Right? It was a loan. If I swipe a credit card, I don't put that on my IRS paperwork. That was a loan. That was something I have to pay back, or you could treat it the same way. Hey, this was a loan. Omit it from the paperwork. Talk to a financial advisor. Or there's other things you can do where you just put your gains as zero. You just mark your capital gains as zero. You have to put what you cashed out or whatever, but there's a column off to the right that says how much of that was gains, and you just put a big old fat zero in there. Talk to a financial advisor.
Yeah, always speak to someone who's familiar with the financial laws and obviously taxation laws in your jurisdiction. Thank you, Matt, for everything you do. Always grinding. Enjoy your short vids. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. We are always grinding and working behind the scenes here at Liquid Loans. 25% is bonkers, but awesome. Yeah, I mean, think of it like this. We call it the clickening at Liquid Loans. Why would you sell your best appreciating asset and then watch it run up like Bitcoiners did, like early people to ETH? Here's the difference. Back then, 5 years ago or 6 years, was it 7 years ago when Ethereum launched, and especially over 10 years ago in the early days of Bitcoin, people didn't have the hindsight of crypto. We now have 12, 13 years of hindsight. So we know how much price appreciation these things can do, right? Thousands of X, millions of % increase. So why would you sell that? And number one, create a taxable event. Number two, lose any future price appreciation of that coin. Why wouldn't you just safely collateralize your Pulse, take a loan, get liquidity, your keys, your crypto, hold it in your vault, keep that safely collateralized 2, 3, 4, 500, even 1,000%, and then still hold on to that as that runs up in price through the years?
I know the answer. Why wouldn't you? There's only two answers. One, you don't know about liquid loans, or two, you're just an idiot.
Jesse, say it how it is, okay? Some people were confused about how you said that.
It means once you learn about liquid loans and you have the clickening, it just makes sense.
Yeah, of course. I'm being sarcastic. How I Made It says, do you think we're better off using Pulse and liquid loans than staking, since the returns seem to be garbage cause its deflationary coin being a validator won't yield much rewards? Obviously, it's up to anyone what they want to do. You have to make the decision on what you want. Obviously you could stake it with a validator, or you could put it in the liquid loans protocol, take some liquidity, and then invest in something else? Obviously, that's up to you. There's no financial advice.
Go stake with our validator too.
Oh yeah, you can
at least on testnet. Listen, at least on testnet, go play around with it. Go stake your pulse to the Liquid Loans validator. There is zero risk. There is a 24-hour time lock on your coins that you put in there. But we have a great payout structure, 90% back to the community. We're like the 5th validator. We could be number 1 here before long. I hear that there's a guy in the community with 35 billion pulse. He's going to add, so we may end up being number 1. Who knows? But you have to support the network. Yeah, the fees are low now, but they're going to go up over time. And if you don't get in early, a lot of people don't realize this. If you don't get into a validator early as a delegator, you actually could miss your opportunity to get in because you have to own a certain percentage of the pool. Otherwise, it won't even let you in as a delegator. So, like, secure your spot. I forget the percentage required, 0.1% or something. You have to own a certain percentage of the pool. Otherwise, they won't even let you in. So secure a position, put some pulse in there. There's zero risk. Over time, pulse will go up and those fees will go up, and then you'll start making like lots of money.
Messi says this channel set the benchmark for how a new protocol should be launched. Such high quality. Thank you very much. D Good says sacrifice is just one of the many methods for token distribution. That is correct. To answer your question, Grow Capital, no, the Liquid Loans team is different to Liquidity. Okay. Carlos asks, what determines the percent of the fees I can get?
Your percentage of the pool, right? So if you're staking the loan token and you own, 1% of the entire pool, that means you will collect 1% of all of the fees, right? So it's just directly proportional to how many tokens you have staked compared to how many tokens other people have staked.
D Good says bad leverage is dangerous. Smart collateralized loans is how the rich stay wealthy. It's true. The wealthy don't sell their best appreciating assets. They borrow against them. Jesse is dropping the facts as always. Hello, Matt and Jesse. I just joined. Well, cool. Okay, looks like we got to the end of our questions. So, Jesse, anything else you want to talk about before we close out today?
No, I'm happy to be here. There's some next things coming up in the pipeline. We're working towards that public testnet. We're working on some how the Fiat on and off ramp things will look like. It's exciting, and I think we are pretty close. Let's be honest. I think PulseChain is probably about a month away or so.
Exciting times. Well, guys, obviously keep yourself, up to date with what's going on. Play around with the PulseChain testnet because you don't want to be behind the ball, when it goes live. So keep playing around with it. Play around with PulseX, and of course, as soon as we have any info on liquid loans on the testnet, you guys will know. Thanks, Jesse. Hang on, we've got a few more people asking questions here. How many developers does Liquid Loans have? We have quite a few working in different parts.
Yeah. And there's in different departments. We got like people on the security side, people on the coding side. Like there's quite a few actually.
Can I stake PulseX on the Liquid Loans validator? No, you can stake Pulse. That's true. Robert Kiyosaki, he loves talking about loans and using debt. So,
go get him.
Go get him. And there's a saying, obviously, in investing and finance, follow the smart money, right? We talk about this a lot. Me and Jesse have done whole streams on how the rich stay rich and hold on to their best appreciating assets, and how the working class and the middle class, unfortunately, get their hands on money and then just spend it. So you want to get your hands on good appreciating assets, PulseChain, lock it up in Liquid Loans, and you're able to hold on to it while still seeing price appreciation. Go Eddie says, what's good? Rusty VR in the chat, what's going on? That's it. LFG, cool. All right then. Well, thanks, Jesse. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you next week, and I'll be looking forward to your next Twitter Space chat as well.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool.
See you all.
Happy Friday, guys. Thanks a lot for watching the stream. Do hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you're notified every time we drop new videos and content on the channel. You can also tap that like button, share the video with someone who you think it may benefit. And if you're watching the playback, do drop a comment below for the algo. It does help us out. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend wherever you are in the world. See you on the next one. Peace.